And you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. And second, also, after this recording, I'll put it on the YouTube, so you guys can, if you need to rewatch or replay, you can go and access. I'll share the link in a group too, like any other session. So I'll take few minutes, like the entire this week, what we are going to cover. I thought like some heads up will help you to prepare yourself and focus like what uh, direction we are going. And if you need any changes anytime, like Divya got an interview and some things he wanted to know and connect, we can set up an ad hoc session for that. Similarly, like any other technical things that come up in your mind or during your interview, and if you wanted that to be covered or go in more detail, just let us know. I'll set that up, right? So this entire course and program and session is for you guys to feel more confident and crack your interview. Not just cracking the interview, you will do better on your job too, right? That's the overall purpose of this. Let me quickly outline what I thought would be helpful, and you guys anytime like, and we can readjust as needed, right? You guys can see my screen, right? So
Yes.
this week our main focus would be SQL, right? Because no matter what you do, I mean, it's very, very important, like you are confident in SQL and the basic SQL. We're not talking about any specific of that. And pretty much the structured query language, that's SQL is uh, a standard for all databases, any relational database or any database that you are using, old or new, whether it's a DB2 Oracle or some little bit syntax will change, but base things will not going to change. And as a data analyst, our key focus will be just to understand the basic SQL syntax, how to write and how to do the work, right? Because tools are very mature nowadays. So pretty much what you do through the SQL, you can do by using tool also, right? But it's always good to have understanding of SQL, how it works, no matter what profile you are working on. And it's just a basic, it's a pretty standard. If you're working on Oracle, you're working on DB2, SQL Server, anywhere you can use this query. These are very standard, right? Not going to change much. So today we are going to focus on the data model. It's very important, like you understand how data organized in database, why we organize in database, and what are the different patterns to store the data into database, right? And when I'm talking about the database, it's a relational database. As I said, it could be SQL Server, it could be Oracle, it could be DB2. And if we'll get some time, we'll look on the OLAP model also. That's used for the analytical processing for warehouse and reporting purpose. And transaction model that's used for the our relational storage of the data. So there are two distinct patterns. When I see the model, like how you are going to organize your data types and all those things. So our key focus for today would be on the data model. Uh, Tomorrow we'll work on and I'm thinking to start 4 days, Tuesday to Friday. So 1 week we can cover one area, and you guys can continue on that. So we'll work on the basic selector statement and all the aggregate function group by and all that you need to know. Next day, we'll focus on the third day, the join. I specifically keep the join as a 1 day full item because a lot more confusion happens. So we'll go do it as an interactive, and we'll see like how you guys processing that and what do you understand when you see the query. And the best way I can tell you that, like either way, see the query, predict the data, or see the data and write the query. So both way you guys can be comfortable after this session. You can understand what if this data is expected, what should be your query, right? So that's why the join is a separate one. And the last day we'll cover some other functions and the other manipulation that use using a string function or datetime function, like you need to get the day and year and month and something. That's very, very important, right? To convert data on that. So more focus we'll do on that. And survey specific concept we'll see like the how we do the employee manager key value pairs and all some specific design patterns that you see for the database. So that will be for this week. An overall outline, you see like it should be 15 to 20 classes, 4 classes a week, right? So as you see, like in the week 2, we are working with the SQL. The what I thought like to blend with the domain knowledge and technical knowledge. So every week I have keep one domain knowledge. There are a lot of books that will give you the domain knowledge, right? Why it is important? Because I think a lot of you guys have the Unam, Assurant, or Cigna, kind of the healthcare and insurance, right? So my expertise on insurance domain, but healthcare is also very important, and finances banking is also important, right? So every week I have designed the program in a way. Uh, 1 day or 2 day we'll discuss about domain knowledge in detail, right? What are the terms used, how the departments works, and all those things, and then we'll keep one technical part. So every week you'll see some domain knowledge and technical part, domain knowledge and technical part. Technical part will be applicable across, right? Whatever domain you're going to work, because at this point we don't know which domain you'll get a job, right? So it's important, like not as expert, but at least basic understanding of the domain you must have. So next week we'll start domain knowledge of insurance, and as a technical, we'll use a Power BI for data reporting and visualization. And there is a certification. So end of the course, whatever your expertise and direction you wanted to think of, it's recommended like get a certification, right? Because uh, having a certificate will again prove you like you have expertise on that technology, right? So like for Power BI, PL300 is the certification. So you can do that. And there are some domain certification also, right? So insurance has a lot of the programs for the certification. So at this point, I'll not say like go for the domain certification, but some technical certification will really, really help your resume, right? So week fourth, we'll cover the healthcare domain, and we'll cover like how to use Excel, CSV, Access data, and XML, right, in detail. We just touch bases, but we'll go in detail like the what will we see the differences, how to process that data as an analyst, and what kind of things you can do, because these are the very, very common, especially in insurance. Still 70 to 80% data reside into Excel. Excel is very, very popular even nowadays. So as an analyst, you must be good in Excel, and you'll learn, right? We'll just give some points and you can go in detail. On the fifth week, we'll use the finance and banking as a domain. I thought to use the telecom also, because telecom is also quite big domain. So we'll think of like if we need, because all of your profile are primarily healthcare and insurance. Or might be you'll get the finance and banking like the Transamerica, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. So it's important to have the finance and banking. So I see like these three are sufficient. But as I said, if any of one of you got the AT&T interview or telecom interview, and you wanted to have some special session on that, whether it's a domain, we can set that up, right? Especially for you or your need. On sixth week, we'll use some of the project management, right? So whatever on the top is that agile, DevOps, and project management is going to be common, right? No matter what tool you're going to use and which technology you're going to work, those are pretty standard. So, and then in terms of the new visualization tool, we use a Tableau also, because a lot more job, you'll see like they ask for the Tableau. And only the reason behind adding so many different parallel technologies, because you don't know one profile you got interviewed, they are more focused on the Power BI, but the next profile, they are more focused on the Tableau. Most likely, you're not going to work on both in any one company. You will work either on the Power BI or on the Tableau, or starting with the Power BI and transitioning to Tableau, depending on that, how the company is, IT is set up and what direction they are going on, right? So idea of including all these things is just to give you exposure of that technology. So you'll be confident in interview. Yeah, you know the Tableau, you have seen that, you have created visual on Tableau. So whenever you need to work on, you can work it, right? So that's the idea. Seventh week is more about the data science, right? Usually they ask it, but a lot of the company, they are not really using data science, but it's good to know. So the concept of the data science, AI/ML, and then the Python libraries you guys have already gone through with the Get a Job, right? So, but again, we'll go through one more time with some of the common ignorance scenario. And on the eighth week, again, we'll continue the Python libraries, because there are a lot of things on the Python. You do the cleaning work, right? and use the data visualization also within the Python with the different kind of the libraries. So I think we'll see like how it will go, but we'll cover that part also. Seventh week is a little bit advanced, right? It's optional, but good to know. Like the database, I'm working very aggressively on these things. The modern data architecture is started in 2000 and is getting good traction. And then we'll blend this information with the GCP, right? So what Google Analytics is going to offer as a platform, you see like different vendor, right? To make it clear, like the whenever it comes like the what is GCP, what is Azure, what is AWS, just think in this way. They all are a car manufacturer. Every brand has their own car. Honda has their own car. BMW has their own car. Mercedes has their own car. If you compare both cars, Mercedes with BMW, you see some pro and cons, but because both are cars, so everything is common, right? So same thing happens over here. These are the different cloud provider. Azure is provided by Microsoft, AWS is Amazon provider, and GCP is the Google Cloud Platform. It's called the Google Cloud Platform, GCP, right? So because they are cloud, all three are cloud, like a different vendor, Mercedes, BMW, and Honda, they all build car. Here they all build product, right, for the client. Right. So we'll cover that too. So we'll go in little depth on that. And that's why over here we'll see the cloud introduction. I wanted to make sure like you understand different basic component of cloud. So whenever somebody say like Azure or AWS, you understand like what they're talking about, right? So at that level of it, it's an introductory level. You do not need to be administrator and all that, but at least you understand whenever they use the term like what they're talking about. 7 and 8 week will be more focused on GCP. We'll go very detailed GCP, right? Google Cloud Platform, and especially for the data analytics. So that will be 7 and 8 week. Once it's completed, pretty much we have covered everything that you needed, right? And depending on your job and interview, you will be very confident to not only clear the interview, to do, I mean, after completion of this course, I can guarantee you, you will be top 20% performer of your company, right? Believe me, I've worked so many companies, so many people. If you cover all these things, you give some time and you understand, you will be top performer in your team for sure, no doubt on that, right? So once everything is completed, then we have a real project in mind. And whoever wanted to work, I recommend everyone to work until you're not getting a job, right? Because it will really help you to do more hands-on and do more real scenario, whatever you have learned, right? So next, I mean, after this 8 week, you'll do the internship, expecting 10 to 16 hours a week. You can work on that, and here we'll follow the real work kind of things. Next, as I said, so this is overall program that we are going to run, right? Any question in doubt so far? All good? All right. So I have not detailed out, right, all this, right? And I have already shared two links. Like on these parts, you can use the LinkedIn and Coursera certification, right? Just complete your course, whatever you feel is interesting, and you can go from there. And I've used this one. I use quite frequently. I mean, pick a one book, whatever you like it, because it's very important. Books always give you a very organized information, right? So as you see there, the finance book domain, your principle of banking. I have already shortlisted some of the books that we'll go through during our domain knowledge. Similarly, you can find for technology also. So it's very, very important, like have some habit to read, learn, and do something by yourself. But don't worry about that. I'll go through in every details on that part. Okay. So, and we are using Google Classroom. So everything you see over the Google Classroom, let's start putting some assignment. If you do the assignment, that will really broaden your understanding about the technology and things. So I highly recommend like whatever comes as assignment, try to do that, right? And if you are struggling with that, just let me know. We can do the clarification session also. So what we need to do on that part. So any materials you see like you can find over here, and all the link, all the important reference, you can find it here, right? So if you are already part of that, that's good. If not, you can drop your email and keep looking this space because a lot more interesting material content will be posted on this Google Classroom also. So now ready to learn SQL and data model. All right. So something Divya asked on that time about the flat file, right? What the flat file and how does it work, right? If you see that when big data started on a cloud, the big data concept itself is means like there are millions of records and the gigabyte of the data that we are talking about, and that could be easily think about that. How many transactions SANS does every day? In a one center, there are thousands and thousands of buy and sell. If you conclude all the SANS transaction or Bank of America transaction is massive, right? And same goes for everywhere. There are massive data has been produced just for 1 year, 10 year, 5 year. So storing data into relational database, and we'll use SQL Server for our practice. There is a Express edition available free of course that you can download. I have given the link. So I'm expecting everyone will have downloaded SQL Server, configured, setup, and up and running, right? And same for the Power BI, download, setup, configure, up and running. If you are getting some problem or not able to install that software on your machine, let me know. We'll help, or will any of you like say Ankit or Divya, if you're not set up, you can share your screen and we can go from there. So everyone can learn how to install the software. So next 2 weeks we are going to use SQL Server and Power BI. So I'm expecting it's a free of cost. It is very important, like it is set up and available on your laptop, right? So this is a relational database, right? It start with the server, right? You can install a number of server in one machine. You need to change the name of the server, right? So by default, this name is the Silkdale. And within one server, you can have n number of databases, right? The more you grow the database, you need more compute power. Like anything we do on the computer, that's required RAM and CPU and hard disk, right? So hard disk is used for storage. RAM is used for the real-time processing, right? Whatever you do, that operation that goes on the RAM. And you can easily see on the task manager. If you open the task manager and of your computer, and you can see on the processes and performance, you can see how much CPU is utilization, how much memory is used, how much disk is used, right? So whether it's the cloud or any computer, these are the three basic fundamental. CPU for compute, memory for the real-time processing, and disk for your storage. In this computer, we have a 16 GB of the memory. Out of the 16 GB, if you see that 13 GB has been utilized. Because whatever work you do, that use some memory, RAM, and CPU, whether you're working on the Word or Team or browser, everything, every single process. You can see how many processes are running over here. Right, so all these processes, and you can see how much CPU is used by which process, how much RAM is used by which process. So in general, higher the RAM is better, right? So that's what is used everywhere. So what we're going to start with a very basic model. Like as you see, these two database is provided by Microsoft for the practice. This database is a OLTP database, and this is a warehouse database. And the one common thing you will spot, like all the OLTP database, oh, sorry, OLAP database start with the dimension and fact. We'll go in detail what is dimension, what is fact. But as you can see here, dimension, 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 fact, fact, fact. Whereas OLTP database tables are more about the normalized forms, right? And one more thing important, like usually every database, relational database supports that. If you see that now you have a 4 level: database server, database, then schema, and then table. Why schema is important? Schema is important to organize your tables. See this. There is a sales, there is a warehouse, there is a purchasing, right? If the schema would not be there, all tables will be kind of the club together, right? So it will be very hard for to understand what tables is related to which department. So usually see like the schema created based on the uses or department, right? Here is the sales, sales, sales. So all these tables are under sales schema. So pretty much every good database I'm talking about, if the the worst DBA or the worst data designer, they can drop all the table without following any pattern. But any good database, you'll see like the tables is organized in the schema, and a schema has the tables. Further, if you expand the table, for example, of the order table, then within the order table, you see the columns. Columns are your functional field that store values, right? So once you expand the columns, and pretty much same thing you'll find, right, in Oracle, DB2, everywhere. Somewhere you need to query, somewhere you need to write it, but you can see similar things. Like as you see, like the order tables have all the information that is needed for order, customer ID, salesperson, and all that. We'll go on detail like what exactly this means, right? Let's pick the customer because that's the very first level. And I'll come on that, like what is when I say the first level, second level, third level of the table, what does it means, right? So you guys can export customer somewhere is there or not?
Sales customer.
Yeah, could be sales customer, I think.
Customer.
Yeah, right. So in this, you see there are different options, right? So pretty much what you do with the SQL query, you can do with the designer also. You can choose the select up from the row. You can see like all the rows has been exposed. So these are the name of the customer and the other details on that, right? So you can see that data. So we are starting from very basic. And the very basic, when I say what we're going to do now, we'll talk about the model, right? And um, whenever it's come to the design the database or the any table that going to be stored in the database, you think of that what information you want to store, right? Like if you're going for the admission, I have choose here like the course and admission as a our reference or sample data. What are the information you want to collect, right? That's the first question you will ask. It's a very simple use case. So what we're going to store is the information about a student and information about course, right? So every student will enroll in some course, right? So while you are designing the database or working on that very first stage, our key focus is just to capture all the relevant field that you want to store in your system, right? And there you can take help of the business analyst. You can take help of the requirement who need these things, right? Like I'm a university head and I see like admission form need to be changed. Now we'll add the domicile in the admission form. So domicile would be a new field. You need to add that field that will store the domicile information, right? So very simple, nothing to do with the technology. Just try to capture the information or document those that you want to store, right? Or you want to build your application on top of that, right? So as I said, in this example, we are going to store the information about a student and information about course, right? So what are the information I want to store for a student? There could be thousands of information that I want to store, right? But we need to be selective because whatever the is not relevant for you, and if you are storing means you are uh, working more towards that. The more number of field would be there, the more work you need to do, right? If I need to build a one house and I need to build 100 house, your effort will be different, right? Your pricing will be different. So it's very important, like and always you see like the business is very picky what information they want, right? They don't want to just generate thousands of things and make it a 1 year of the project and millions of dollars, right? So they are very picky what they want. So as you see here, we have used the student name, enrollment number, address. Address definitely is the composite field that has the address line 1, line 2, city, state, zip code, country, right? These are the pretty standard address, right? Course name is there, and then fee is there. What the amount that you're going to charge for the course, and additional information like I mean, just as I said, it's nice to have whatever information you want to store. Number of semester, number of year, number of weeks. If it would be English speaking class or like the program that I am running, it will be only for the 8 weeks, right? So how your data will be look like is very important. Like I usually do whenever I comes with the field, I come up with okay, how the data will look like on that field. It is very, very important, right? So whenever, I mean, these are very common fields, so we all can guess what kind of the data is going into this field, right? In field, this functional value, right? So, but there could be more complex field I have never heard, right? Like I'm saying, like the alpha beta. What kind of the value will be in alpha beta, I don't know, right? But someone gets like alpha is a x and beta is a y, right? So it's very, very important, like have some mock-up with the value within that field. So you know that how it's going to look like, right? And what kind of the information you're going to store. And I'm coming to that why it is important, because in a normal CSV and text file, like as you see over here, you don't have any way to define the data type. And data type is what? It just tell you what kind of the information you're going to store on that field. Nothing more, nothing less. Data type is just going to tell you what kind of information is going to be stored on that field. That's it, right? How many kind of the data types is available and supported? There are pretty good number of that, and there are some variation, but primarily you see like the character data type, integer data type, date and time data type, right? So these are the some different data types. So what is the advantage of defining the data type? Like over here, if I have set this as data type as a date and time, and if I try to write ABC, it will throw an error, right? But as Excel says is a semi-structured data, it's not the structured data, so you cannot enforce the data type on this field, right? In enrollment field, I can easily pass ABCD, but SQL Server is the structured data, right? And if the SQL Server has the data type defined, as you see like integer, date and time, this is date and time. And here, if I try to type ABC, it will reject it, right? SQL Server will reject this data. It will not accept this data, okay? So structured data, when we talk about, it means you can simply imagine if somebody is talking about a structured data, means the data that has enforced data type, right? It means that you see here everywhere, it's a date and time, it's nvarchar, it's a bit, it's an nvarchar. We'll see in detail like what data type means, but only at this point you need to understand when you say the data type is enforced, then on that field you cannot add any other value, right? Like date and time field, like valid from and valid to is the date and time. So if anybody will try to type ABC or 1 to 3, it will straightforward rejected by the SQL Server. So what does it mean? Why you enforce that? It could not be possible to enforce data type in a CSV file, text file, or Excel file, because as you see here, I can put anything. Here also I can put anything, right? I can put date also, right? Nobody will stop that, right? Because data type cannot be enforced over here, right? And one advantage and disadvantage that you have with the enforcing the data type, advantage is that once you enforce the data type, any garbage chances of garbage value will be reduced, right? At least in the enrollment date, anyone entering the data, it would be date. Whether it's a valid date or invalid date, there's a different discussion, but you can only store the date, right? That's the advantage. If my fee is integer value, so only you can store the integer numbers, right? You cannot store ABC. So that's the advantage defining the data type. But disadvantage of defining data type is that if anybody is trying to put some wrong, it will be rejected, right? You can consider it as an advantage and disadvantage, but just because of P is wrong, entire record will be rejected. So that's the disadvantage, right? Because whenever you try to do that, your system will throw, I cannot accept A and A as a valid fee. So not only A will be rejected, entire details that you have, everything will be rejected, right? So that works as a negative for the data type. That's why, and if you see like the more on the big data, there are tons of garbage data produced. So that's why the big data is primarily, there is no enforcement of the data type. They capture the data and then they do the cleaning and filtering and see like the what data is relevant and not. So usually big data don't enforce the data type. And relational database, as you see in SQL Server, enforce the data type. If you're enforcing the data type, you cannot have any other value. If you're not enforcing, then you can store any value on that. So, so far so good?
Yes.
All right. So now we'll see like how do we model it, right? So very first, right? Like whoever is designing the database, like Microsoft team has designed this database, right? Someone has given these requirements, what information they want. This is the retail shop, right? So they have designed this model, right? So whenever you are designing that, everything start with the very first normal form or flat form, right? So when I say the first normal form and flat form, means we'll start documenting all the fields and all the potential value, so you can understand the what kind of the value you are going to store on that, right? And one thing you'll heard very many times, like the metadata. So metadata is nothing but it's called the data about data, right? So your data is student enrollment address, right? What kind of the information you are going to store? Is it compulsory or not? Those kind of the information is considered as the metadata, right? So we'll go in detail, right? That's why I split in the different things. And one more thing, I think you know or not, like Excel and all these things provide these columns value. Once you have it, you can select this column value, you can copy it. And when you are documenting those details, then we can simply over here, you can, while paste is special, we can transpose. So the column will be converted into row. And the same thing we do in SQL with the pivot and unpivot work, right? Column turn into row and row turn into column, right? So I just moved it here, right? Same thing you can do that. I usually do that. I put the column name and I'll use the header when I'm analyzing a very new system. I don't know anything about that system, right? Day one, you are on a job and somebody say like, hey, can you look into the claim table and let me know what's going on? I don't know claim table, right? What kind of the values are there? So the very first thing I'll do like this thing, like, okay, what are the fields are in the claim table, right? And like once you, I mean, we'll go on the query and we see how you can do that, right? But it's always helpful to understand what are the fields on that table. And then you can pick any row, right? This is my row value, and I can just simply copy that one too. I'll go in the field information and I'll simply paste a special and I'll transpose that also. So this will give me the value of field. It's not necessarily need to do, but kind of you can do that to understand on this part, right? So this structure over here, or this structure over here, what you see, right? And is the first normal form, right? Because every single field that is needed is in a one sheet, one list of the column, right? And in a big data, you can see like the hundreds. This is just a 10 and 20. You can see that the at least a 600, 700 and thousands of columns are there, right? So that's the first normal, right? And this is good for the data analytics, right? Because you need to just query one table, right? A student detail is also in this information. Your city detail address is also in this information. Your course is also in this information. Everything, every single information is in one table. That's good for reporting, right? But not good for the OLTP system, right? So how you design the OLTP, that's where the normalization concept come in a picture, right? Everything starts with the flat, right? No doubt on that. Now it's come like, how do you split this? How you'll make a call? This should be a separate table or it should be in a same table, right? So one key rule that you need to remember, pick any field, right? And see that the remaining field, is it dependent on that field or not, right? If your answer is yes, it is dependent, then that will be in a same table. If you say like for example, let me enrollment would not be right example, but I'm adding a row and I'm using the gender. Gender is dependent on student, address, or where? Who gender is dependent on which field? Any guess? Student. Hello? Anybody?
What is your question? Can you please repeat?
My question is that these are the list of the field, right? What
Yes.
we need to do now, we need to reorganize this based on the normalizations concepts for the better effective data based system, right? So the first rule we look, you can pick any field and you see that whether this field is dependent on which field, right? There are 10, 15 fields, right? So every single field you need to run through Is it dependent on any existing field or is totally independent, right? So my question is, gender is totally independent or is dependent on a student, it is related to course, or dependent is like it's related to, right? It's related to course or
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
related to city or state,
It's related to
Student.
student.
right? Okay. So what you can do usually first, as you know the student, right? A student name is there. So start with the object or entity that's called a student, right? So keep the student here. And you see like this is dependent on a student name because it's talking about the name, right?
Yeah.
So it will go under the student table. You can put it here, move it, right? Now it's done. You can mark it green, right? I'm done with this. Gender is again dependent on the student, right? So I'll copy gender and put it here, right? Now enrollment number will come on the enrollment number. Then you see the address line 1 and address line 2, right? So address line 1 and 2, these are also related to a student, right? Because it's very specific. What is the address of Tanya? What is the address of Sneha, right? So it's a very specific to that particular student, right? So that's why these two will go into same table. And just for our reference, I'll make it a bold and big, right? When it's come to the city, yeah, of course, Tanya lives in a certain city, but certain city itself is independent, right? Its list of the city is there, right? So definitely, if you go on the higher normalization, you see like usually city as a separate table, right? And that table will have your city name, right?
நீ ரொம்ப பண்றீங்க போறேன் புடி.
Same goes for state, JIP, and country, and all those things split on that. The second major object that we are going to identify is the course, right? Because if you see the fee, number of semester, number of years, all these information are related to course, right? So we can create a course object, right? Course as an object, entities or table, whatever you can call it, right? So I did the course object and all things that are dependent on the course will go there, right? So like the course code will go here, right? Like the course name will go here, right? And fee, number, semester, everything is related to course, so everything will go here. I mean, you guys do not need to do that, right? Why I'm telling you from a start, usually this thing is done by DBA or the senior architect or data architect who do the data modeling, right? And even in a IT world, there is a specific job called the data modeler, right? Data modeler are expert in doing a various kind of the modeling on the different situation, right? But only the reason I'm telling you these things, so you understand like the how information collected, stored, and processed, right? That's the only reason. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to do the modeling, but might be you need to create some tables so you understand like how you need to create a table and which kind of the field need to go and what are the activities need to be done around that. So that's the only interest over here, right? So you moved everything now. If you see, I mean, not everything is still something that there. Enrollment number. Enrollment number, if you see, this is very interesting. Why it is interesting? Because you got your enrollment number for a particular course, right? So enrollment number is for course also, because you enroll in a particular course, right? And a student also, right? So you can keep it here, right? But the problem, so what so far whatever you've done, this is known as the second normal form, right? Why it is a second normal form? Because as you see, this is the flat structure. Now you have split the flat structure into this structure, right? So at least you have created three tables, right? We can add more, but at least created three tables. So the more you do the normalization, the more number of tables will be increased, right? So now the one more problem over here, because enrollment number is here, enrollment number is here. And as you see, like the enrollment number is 101, right? And 101 is here. Usually in a base database design, we don't want to duplicate the value, right? What does it mean? Any field should be at one place. We don't want to keep the same field into two different or three different tables. The problem with that, any change you are doing, it need to be done in the both places, right? Or three places. So it's very thumb rule and design practice that all these functional field should be or must be in any one table, right? It should not be multiple table. So now this is the enrollment is here, enrollment is here. That's the problem. The second problem you'll see if you're following me. Like if you have multiple course enrollment, right? Could be possible I'm enrolled in a multiple course. So again, if you are enrolled in a multiple course, then you need to repeat the same thing, right? And repetition is not good for the OLTP system. That's the very first thing. If you go here, what I mean to say, this is the same student, right? And this student enrolled into English course also, right? So what does it mean, right? Might be enrollment number will change, right? But the rest of other information is not going to change, right? It's again depend on the company logic what is going to do. But you see, like the rest of information is not going to change. You are still living in the same location, but that need to be go over there. So repetition in OLTP is very bad. Is never required. But again, in OLAP system, like the reporting system, repetition is perfectly fine. And that's called the denormalization. Opposite of the normalization is the denormalization. So in long and short, from where we started building OLTP system from flat structure and splitting the table for the better performance. But now in the for reporting purpose, again, we are clubbing multiple table into one, and that's called the denormalization, right? So we'll see on that, right? And there are some other concepts on that you'll follow over there. So only the best way to do that, have a bridge table between a student and course. That's where you see the third normal form, right? So the bridge table is called the admission, right? So this would be your bridge table, and because it's a bridge table and one student can enroll into multiple course or one course can be enrolled by multiple student, you need to have intermediate bridge table to resolve that problem, many to many relationship. Again, you'll see like the anyone has understanding one to one, one to many relationship. We'll come on that. Okay, so like student and course, and this is the bridge table, right? Where you are marrying both information, right? So here would be the your student name, right? Whatever is coming on that. I mean, again, one more thing will come over here, and then you'll put the course code, right? And again, you'll put the admission date. So, like as I said, you don't need to be expert on that. It's not you're not going to do as a data modeler, but you need to understand just like how things works, right? So you did design an intermediate table that's called the admission, and a student will join over here with the student name, right? I don't know if somehow I need to draw a line. This will be joined here, and this course will be. Let me change the code number, right? So you guys can understand. So this will be here, right? And this will be our my course. So I'll use this, sorry, or this color, and this will be the course code, right? So it's the same value is repeating, and that's where the join concept also come in SQL. Once you have splitted the table in multiple, you need to join and get the details on that, right? One more problem, last problem is left, because the same name can be repeat, right? Could be here Tanya, and there could be another Tanya, right? Who is living some other location, right? So again, it's caused the problem, right? But that's where we introduce the primary key. In a relational database, it is always important to have a primary key, and the primary key is the field in that table that have the unique value. If in this table you have a 10,000 student, that key should be unique, right? It's very important in any table. And if you don't find any field that is unique, like if you see here, there is nothing that could be unique. I mean, enrollment number, you can consider it. Here also, you don't see anything is unique. So what we do, we introduce a new column and as an integer value, and that will called as the course ID. So that's what you see in the most of the structure. In the table, you'll see the first value as a ID, and that's the auto increment. So when the first student is enrolled, that will be 1. When the second Tanya will be enrolled, that will be 2. So this course ID or student ID will keep increasing, right? So you have always flexibility to introduce a integer value as a ID to make that table record unique, right? So this is also good practice. Like if you don't find any field that is unique for that table, introduce as a ID field and let it increase. So at least any number of record will be inserted. You will see that as a unique, right? So this will be your data look like, and this will become your primary key. The primary key generally we refer as a PK. So that's the unique. That field is always unique on that table. That will never ever going to be duplicate. Okay, that's the primary key. Clear? All right. Okay. So OLTP and OLAP concept. So what we are doing is called the OLTP. That's the way every single transactional system works. Whether it's a banking application, whether it's an insurance application, even whether it's a Facebook, any transactional system designed in this way, right? And the reason, as I said, to remove the repetition, to have a unique value, because suppose that you are changing the address, then you need to change the address once. And whatever the report you are using, whether it's admission report, mark sheet, your invoice, your hostel fee, everything will be, the address will be changed, right? And that could be only possible if a student information is stored at one place. If a student information is address is stored at the multiple places, then you can see discrepancy. Like might be the your hostel address has been changed, but your mark sheet will have still the old address, right? So that's a big problem. That's why we use the OLTP system for storing the data, like the where the application works and the very first process. When you are filling the application form, that's the OLTP system. When you are using any application, that's your OLTP system generally, right? And OLAP will cover in detail. OLAP is, as I said, if you see here, this is the this is your OLTP system, right? And there is a data warehouse OLAP system. There we have a dimensions and facts. So same information we reorganize for the better reporting purpose. OLAP will go in detail because you all are going to be work as analyst. So our main focus would be on OLTP OLAP system, right? Because most of the time you'll work on the fact and dimensions. So we'll go in detail in upcoming, right? So that's the very basic you need to understand. And as you see now, like every table will have a unique. So dimension.city in this table also you can see the city key, and that's the primary key. What does it mean? This will be always unique. You see like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although you see like the city name is the same. See, this is the right example. That's what I was talking about, right? Clinton is in New York, Virginia, Missouri, Ohio, right? So if you don't have a unique number, whenever I say the city key 4 means Missouri. When I'm saying the city key 6, then Kentucky, right? So that's why for a good design, it's always important to have the primary keys, auto numbers, so that you can have different things, right? So this kind of the modeling, and this one we'll learn in detail. So don't worry about that. So only the take you need to lead for any application, it would be OLTP system, banking, insurance, anything. Any reporting system is the OLAP system where we have a fact and dimension. And the other difference is that in OLTP system, we split table, right? Generally, at the end of the exercise, your number of table is going to grow. Like, see, we started with the 1 table, we end up with the 4 table, right? So OLTP number of table will grow. In OLAP, we merge everything in a one big table, right? Especially in a case of the big data. So that's called the denormalization, opposite of the normalization, where your number of table will be reduced, right? And OLAP modeling is a totally different. There are very good book on that. So we do not see, as I said, like all this thing is a data modeler work. You do not need to be modular. You need to know that, right? How the tables and data and structure works, right? So real quickly, we can try this out, right? We have a few more minutes and then we'll close it, right? And what else was there for today? Let me see if I've covered everything. Okay, creating a table designer in the code, right? And the one task I'll expect you guys, you can come up with any other domain and system you can think of, and come with the yeah, Divya, go ahead.
Sorry to disturb you.
No,
So
no, go
when
ahead.
you're talking about this structure of the, I mean, like you showed me that we started with one table and then we end up with the four tables. I suddenly it hit in my mind. It's like uh, when I was with the interviewer, he was talking about the normalized data and data normalization. So
Right.
basically, when we are extracting the data from the SQL Server. Normalized data means if the data is properly structured as like the four tables, is that is
OLTP
called
system, yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
that is called normalized data. You mean
mm,
like already structured way? Is
yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So normalization, see what we did, like the what we did over here, right? This entire process is normalization, right? This process is normalization, right? What we did is the normalization, right? And this
Got it.
this table structure is the first normal form. It's called the first NF, first normal form. What we did here is the second normal form, right? NF. This course and student table is the second normal form, right? Because at least in this form, all the independent fields has been excluded from the table. Like a student has the only student related information, course has the only course related information. So this is the second normal form. And the third normal form is will be here. In this case, this we have a student, we have a course, and we do have a admission also. Admission will not be here because admission is the third normal form. We created a breeze table, right? So when you have a many-to-many relationship, like the multiple student can enroll in a one course and one course can be enrolled into multiple student, then you need a breeze table, that is admission. So this would be once you are introducing the breeze table into your table as data model, this is third normal form, right? So see, that's how it's changing. This is first normal form, this is second normal form, and this is the third normal form. Mostly the third normal form is good enough to address all your data requirement. You'll not split more than this. There are fourth normal form and BNC normal form also, fourth and fifth and sixth, but up to three is more than enough. So this entire process we did is the normalization. And if you revert it, like your data is like this, and you convert this third normal form data into first normal form, that's denormalization. And that's what you see in a big data, a flat structure, right? Every, not only that, if this university has the thousands of field, all thousands will be in a one, right? That's you see like the claim model or insurance, you see like the one big giant table with the hundreds of fields. So that's the opposite of the normalization. All right.
Thank you so much. I understood. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very, see, once you, I see when I started, you always remember this thing, a student, course, and admission, right? Because then you can easily visualize and just change this policy, claim, claimant or something, your customer, bank account, and anything, right? So in domain, you can change those objects, but the concept is going to remain same, right? So it's very, very important. You stick an example with the easy, and same thing we'll use for the join also. So it will be very easy to translate that for any complex system. I think we are already now going to be over, and just real quickly, I'll tell you everything you can do through the designer, and just the what do you need to do? I mean, you can create a fresh database, right? So database, I can put the my data sample or whatever you can. Just you need to give the name and click OK. The database will be created, and all the structure will be there. There will not be a table. So now I need to create the student table, right? And I do have we didn't cover the data type, but that's fine. We'll cover it again later on that. So new table, right? So column name, what you need the student ID. ID we want to first as a, and the ID 1, 2, 3, you see like the auto increment. So we can use as an integer value. And then you can right click over here, you can set as a primary key. So now it will be a primary key. And one more thing you need to do when you are creating the student table is a identity. Auto identity, you can make it enabled 1, right? Identity increment by 1 and identity state is 1. So what will be happen once you insert a new record, it will automatically 1, 2, 3, 4, it will go on, right? The student name, right? And then, I don't know, I mean, gender. The rest you can add it, right? So, and here is the list of the data type that you can change. What does this mean? Anyone can say ncat n. What does it mean? Anybody?
10-digit we can just
Yeah. So ncat is the nvar character and 10 digit. And this is always going to take a 10-digit length on your server, right? Storage. So generally in a data type, you use the because first of all, 10 size is very less for name, right? It should be 100 and 200. And I'll say like whenever you need to design a table, keep it a bigger range, right? Because a lot of time I have seen people struggle. Initially, they define a low size, and when the big data comes, then they need to change thousands of places, right? So, and varchar means like the whatever the number of character has been used, that will be only stored into database, right? So what is means like I have used the 50 character, although I'll think like because this is the first name, middle name, last name, so I'll put the 250 character, right? 250 letters can be used, right? Maximum. And gender is the I can go with the because male or female if I'm going to use. So it's okay to have the no not 10. I think even in the character and the one is fine, right? Because it will be male or female, right? So that's the three things. Let's just store that and let's process it, right? So I'll use the student, right? So this will be the table. A table is created over here. If you refresh it, it will come up, right? Here is the student table. And by default, your schema would be DVO schema, right? Now, how we can insert the value? So right click, edit top 200 rows, right? ID is disabled. You cannot add any value because it will automatically change, right? So student name I wanted to use.
It's a primary.
Yeah, yeah. And now gender is female, right? Now I'm putting tab. So you see like the auto ID generated one and again use that female, right? And again, I'm using this and I'm using this, right? So it's accept and you see like the added the 3 value, right? So that's why it will keep going and you can keep adding value on that. And I have not make it compulsory, but see over here, if I'll add the more value, as soon as it will cross the 250 character, it will throw error, right? Still 250 is a very big. This one is the single character. So if I'll try to use the male, right, and tab, it will throw an error. See what the error is saying, right? Truncated value male because stream has been terminated. You need to escape that, right? It's not let you do that, right? So that's the advantage of the data type also, right? It will not let you do that because I have said that the value. So only I have option I can put the single character or keep it null, right? So that's all for today. One exercise, if you guys can think of any domain, your sales, marketing, purchasing, or your birthday shopping event, anything, whatever you can think of, just think in a first normal form. Means you just list down the field, right? And list down the number value of that, right? So anything you can pick up and minimum at least have a 10 field, 10 functional field, whatever you are designing, right? Is that okay?
Yes. Yeah.
So like here we say, think about a student and course. You can think about anything like the event planner. Event planner, what are the things needed? Just think of 10 field or like the insurance. What are the 10 things is needed, right? So think of any domain, anything you can think of. Just list the 10 functional field of that and list the value of that. What value you wanted to store on that 10 field.
Normalization form, right?
Not just start with the flat. Just start with the flat in Excel and Google, and then we can go on the non-license side. All right. So that's all for today. Right. I hope this will be adding some value for your understanding. Right. And we'll connect tomorrow.
Yeah.
I just had one question. Like when we say data modeling, so that means building the database, creating means giving the database name, and in that database giving columns, and also that means the data modeling, or
See,
building
mm,
a
mhm.
relationship
No, I
between
think it's a
different
very
different
good
tables.
question, right? So like I said, like in IT industry, data modeler is a separate job and it's a very highly paid job, right? And what we did over here before doing the model, right? See, what I did exactly, data modeler do the same thing day and day out, every day, right? That's their bread and butter, right? So the very first thing, normalization, OLAP, depending on that. If they are doing for the reporting, they need to do the OLAP modeling. And if they are doing for the application, a brand new application, mobile application they are designing, then they need to do OLTP modeling. So in a modeling, three concept issues. First, start with the conceptual model. If I am a data modeler, first I'll develop a conceptual model, right? So what I'm doing, what we did today is a conceptual model, right? Once I decided how many fields is needed for my application, right? And what are the value of this? So far this information is still conceptual model. Then we go on the logical model, I guess call it. I need to see like the terminology, right? But three models are there. In this model, we define the data type. What data type need to be used? And then the third model is the physical model. So physical model is depending on the what database you are going to use. So here you will generate the create a statement, right? So like this is the logical model. We build the, we started with the conceptual. Then we define the data type like varchar, what is 250? We use it. Gender is char one, right? So it's very important. Like it's very important. Like to picking the right size and right things because it will create a lot of the mess in future. If you are not, if you are short-sighted, then it will be very problematic, right? So what I'm doing is the modeling activity, and at this stage, what I did is the logical model. I did the second task, but when I did it over here, that's my third physical where it comes the database and all that things, right? And one more thing, I can script it out, right? And I can share this script or I can check in this script. So this script is the physical model, and this is very much dependent on the which database we are going to use. If this would be DB to my target, right? Then it will change. So this
say Oracle.
Yeah.
We can use
So
Oracle.
this physical model I have used for the SQL server, right? And this is my script, right? But if my physical model target is Oracle, then it will little bit the script will change depending on the Oracle, right? So this entire process is the modeling, and as I see, the normalization is a concept to organize your fields and the steps that need everything start with the logical model, conceptual model. Sorry, everything start with the conceptual model. That's the very first. Like you decide the what are the fields that you need to store, and that's why I'm giving you a task to create a conceptual model of any domain. Whatever you feel you need to store, just decide the field name and what value you are going to store. Once you are done with that, your conceptual model is ready. The next step, you will decide the data type of that, and that will do after the data type, and then you are creating a physical table. So that's completing the logical, conceptual, and the physical model. And physical model is always targeting to the particular database system. You will never ever complete the physical model without the targeting particular system. Like here, I have generated the physical model for SQL Server, right? And then the entity relationship diagram concept also comes in the future. This is good, right? But suppose if there is 100 tables, how do I know which table is connecting to which table, right? So that's where your ERD, and that's where one-to-many or many-to-many relationships comes in a picture. And I think for database, every database provide that you can generate that model, right? Like this is the there. And what is that? Yeah, here is the database diagram, right? So it's not there, but if you want to create it, you can create a database diagram also. And that will add all the relationship that we have. Let me bring all the application databases. Application. Is there any other application or sales also there? Okay.
In their application payment.
So if you'll add it based on the relationship, it will generate the model, right? And that model is very, very helpful for seeing the relationship, how they are. I mean, they all are independent, but this is the good model, right? You see, like, this is the model. And as you see, this model is very important, right? So if see, as a data analyst, as soon as you go in any company and start working, try to understand the model, ask for data dictionary, ask for the ERD diagram, ask for the access of the database, because then you can explore about the data. So once I see this model, I can lot more thing I can understand. Okay, there is a country table that has a country list. There is a people table. Person ID is the primary key attaching to the city with the city ID. So this is the model, right? So a lot of like based on the relation is generate the model, right? So you guys, I mean, at the complete of this entire course, you'll be pretty confident to design any table and model, right? Believe me. So we'll discuss on that, right? So the key is the one-to-many relationship is talked about, and then the foreign comes on that. But more detail, this is needed for the data modeler, right? And I love this thing, right? So, but you guys just need to understand how this is structured and work. I hope this address your query. Yeah.
Um, Madhukar, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
When you showed the physical model, I saw that the codes are created over the queries. So did you create the query in the SQL Server? Otherwise, automatically it created
So,
itself
yeah,
by seeing
so
the
see, that's right. I use the designer, right? I can use the SQL statement to do the same thing, but I use the designer, and then after using the designer, I can export and import any code, right? So that's what it provides. So like, sorry, I can easily export and import that, right? So that's SQL Server generate that, and pretty much every database provide this create to, drop and create to. So it will drop and recreate or create to. So that's what is generating the SQL statement. But it's easy. I mean, see, SQL is very
But
easy. See,
what people are expecting from us to write the query? Sorry to ask this stupid question, but
no. So it's depend on that, right? So see, if you are starting from there and you need to build a reporting system, right? So if in a small like a small instance like the usually like if there are not a data modeler as a dedicated job position in your company, then the modeling work also you need to do, right? So might be, I mean, uh, not very frequently, but once in a while you might need to create table, right? But most of the time, what would be needed for you guys because you're working as an analyst, right? So as an analyst, your main code would be to analyze the data and produce the visuals, right? You're not a data engineer. I think the first video you guys can look on that. So day to day, primarily you will work on that, profiling the data, understanding the data, working on the reports and visuals. That would be your everyday work, right? And so for that, suppose that somebody say like, okay, hey, can you create an AdventureWorks report and tell me like the which region we are doing good business, right? So what I need to do, I need to get access. I need to understand how data has been organized and build our visuals, right? I need to do the profiling and all that. So that would be your day to day. And as I said, like in terms of the query, just basic query. I'm not expecting. Deepak, your case is different. Like a SSRS and when reporting comes, they are might be going the T-SQL in a more detail, right? But as a in general data analyst, you do not need to do a lot more complex SQL query, right? And we'll cover, yeah, not complex, very basic. See what I have documented, get understanding on that, very clear understanding. Select group by average aggregate functions and the join. These are the most like still after 15 years I'm using these every day, right? So pretty much these are the your everyday things, right? Every day one or two query you will write every day using just these. So the first understanding, get on this more expertise, and then later on depending on that you'll go. So the most of the time you like the basic query, right? One more thing, I was just sorry as we are already late, so This is the I'll highly recommend academic.bigbandit.com. And the reason for that, wherever you are on your mobile, you can do the practice of your SQL, right? So there are SQL course also that you can go. And the good part is that like you can start by start, you can learn from there and the select query. So it's a browser based, right? So select a student, run code, it will give you the run. And if you need to run you can do this thing in mobile. You do not need any software, right? So like I'm using the count. How many students are there? I ran it. Is it like total 18 students are here, right? So it's a really good to do your practice, right? So highly recommended for SQL. Everybody, no need to install any software, and select condition is there. Everything greater than 8. What about the? Let's try the less than 8. How many students are where the grade is less than 8? So you run the query and you see, right? Okay, these are the students where the grade is less than 8, right? So academy.bigbandit.com, I'll put it in chat. It's a very good wherever you are on your mobile, on your laptop, you can just practice, keep practicing any concept, and it's a very good. And whatever that you feel is important, you can go on that section also. How to use the in, not in, right? How to use the count operator. That's what we see that the count student from a star and all. So any specific SQL concept that you are struggling, you can go on that section and you can see like, okay, how the min max works. So here is the min max, right? How the order by works, right? We'll cover it, but just for the practice, this is really good because you do not need to be in front of laptop. You do not need to install any software. You can practice around. All right. So just basic SQL. Okay.
Hey, hi Madhukar. Do
Yeah.
data analysts make store procedures also?
No, I'm not saying usually. No. See, nowadays you do not need to do anything. Like think in this way, right? And I think if you see here, get data, right? I do not need to write anything because nowadays you get the data first and then do the profiling and analysis, right? So store procedure, I don't think we need to use the store procedure or complex. Could be possible like this, like, oh, you want a student data, use this store procedure. That's fine, right? But answer is no.
Okay. But join and all we are using frequently, right?
Very frequently, very frequently.
Okay.
And see, join and thing is just a concept, right? So might be the syntax will change because if you're using the Python query, right? So join concept is C. I mean, I don't want to go in that detail, but the thing is that once you have a more than one table, like here, student, course, and city, then you need to join, right? You need a join query, right? It's just a concept. What about that? You're not using the join, but you have imported a data student and imported a data course. Then again, you need to find a common field that will be joined, right? So join is more about the concept. Even, I mean, SQL query, you need to write it, but could be possible like you got a two CSV file, right? Your client or any is sending two CSV file and you need to merge them all, right? So all these concepts are important, and whatever you do through the SQL, you can do the same thing in a Power BI without writing code. You can do the same thing in a Tableau or Looker, but you need to know concept. Like if you're using the left join, then what data you will expect? If you're using the right join, then what data you will expect, right? If you're using the union means just appending the data, right? Then what data you are expecting? Because you will work around the data. So these concepts are pretty much given as a tool, but you need to know the concept first. It's very important, right?
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so